Chelsea, and in my little Japanese kitchen today we're going to be making soup curry. Japan is not really known for its curry, but actually it's one of the most commonly eaten dishes in the country. And it's been around since around the 1800s, when supposedly the British brought it to the country. Back then, India was a British colony, and I guess some of those spices made their way to Britain, and then those spices made their way to Japan. Then curry began to gain popularity in Japan until one of the biggest food production companies created a curry roux so that people could make it in their own homes easily. This is one such curry roux. Golden curry is a very well-known type of curry roux that is made by a well-known brand called S&B. I've seen this sold in the UK, and I know that it's sold in other countries too, so I thought it would be a good one to show you guys if you're not living in Japan. Then, after curry gained that much popularity, in around the 1970s, soup curry was born in Hokkaido. Soup curry became a sort of soul food in Hokkaido that was perfect for those cold, wintry months. But after that, it started to gain popularity elsewhere too, and you can find it in other restaurants around Japan, not just in Hokkaido. Though soup curry is definitely a lot more rare than the traditional curry. So Japanese curry usually uses this curry roux to make a thick and dark brown curry. And to make soup curry we use a very similar process, but we just add a lot more liquid to make it more soupy and a little bit thinner. One of the great things about Japanese curry and soup curry is that you can really make it your own. Although most people use the curry roux as their base, people will add loads of different things like apple puree, ketchup, soy sauce, chutney to make it into their own dish. And so here's a list of different ideas that you can use for experimenting with your soup curry. But today I'm just going to show you how I make my base soup curry. I often change it up and add in some ketchup, which is one of the most common, or add some red wine. But this is the base soup curry that I often come back to. And I really encourage you to keep experimenting and trying out different ingredients to make it into your very own soup curry. One last thing to note is that sometimes soup curry recipes will call for a different way of cooking the vegetables. They'll often either grill it or fry it beforehand and then put it into the soup curry afterwards. But today we're going to be doing it in a slightly easier way, and we're going to just cook everything in the same pot. So we've talked a bit about the variations and how you can experiment with this, but let's start off by taking a look at the base ingredients that you'll need for this Japanese soup curry. To add to our golden curry roux, we're going to be using 4 different spices and some Akadashi miso. This is a type of red miso. And today we're going to be using chicken thigh. So as you can see, we don't need too many kind of crazy ingredients for this soup curry, but we're going to start off with a very simple spice blend. We're going to be using a bit of garam masala, which actually already has cumin in it, but I like the flavor of cumin, so we're going to be adding some separate cumin as well. So we're starting with 2 teaspoons of chili powder. Now, Japanese chili powder is actually really mild, so if your chili powder is a lot spicier, then you can adjust this to taste. So now we're going to prepare our vegetables and meat. So these potatoes are fairly small, so we're going to rinse them and then cut them into 4. And today I'm going for a kind of home-cooked rustic vibe, so we're keeping the peel on, but you can of course peel them if you want to. And then for the carrots, we're going to use a rangiri technique, which you might have seen in my nikujaga video. This is simply a rolling cut, so after washing our carrots, we're going to cut the top and the bottom off, and then starting from the thinner end of the carrot, we're going to cut diagonally, then roll, cut diagonally, roll, until we get to the thicker part of the carrot, where we're going to do the same thing, but we're going to cut from the middle of the carrot. Then for the chicken, I'm using chicken thigh. If you want, you can use chicken breast, but if you do, then do be careful because chicken breast can dry out quite quickly. So it might be a good idea to cook that separately and then put it into the soup curry right at the end so that it's not too dry. But chicken thigh, it doesn't dry out as easily, so we're going to be putting that into the soup curry itself. You can also replace this with whatever kind of meat you want or add some more vegetables. And for the chicken thigh, we're just going to cut it into strips and then salt it and leave that to one side. And finally, we're just going to grate some puree. What? And finally, we're just going to grate some garlic. Grated garlic gives off a much more powerful flavor than minced garlic or sliced garlic, and I find that the flavor just comes out a lot more than store-bought garlic puree. Now just prepare 600 milliliters of chicken stock and then we can get cooking. Okay, so we're starting off with the vegetables and we're just going to cook those for 2 to 3 minutes. We cook the vegetables first for a little bit to soften them up. So once our vegetables have been cooking for about 2 to 3 minutes, then we can add in our chicken, garlic and spice mix. Oh, that garlic smells so good. I just love garlic, guys. And try to get the chicken to the bottom of the pan so that we can seal the chicken a bit. And once the chicken is sealed on all sides, then we're just going to add our spices and mix them around. Now that the chicken is sealed and we've got all of our spices in there, we're going to add our miso and stock. So add our stock. We add in the miso after we've added in the stock so that we can melt it into the curry, because otherwise the miso will stay kind of clumpy. This is an Akadashi miso. Akadashi means red fish stock, so we get a very deep red color, and I prefer this flavor over the normal miso. So I'm just putting my spoonfuls of miso into my ladle, and then we put the ladle into the soup, and you can just mix it around. So the soup will be nice and hot, so it's just going to melt the miso nicely. You don't have to do this step, but you might find that the miso clumps onto the vegetables or the chicken. And once you're confident that there are no clumps in there, then you can just let it all in. And then just give it a stir to make sure that the miso is nice and incorporated. Now that it's simmering nicely, we're going to cover it and cook it for 10 minutes or until our vegetables have softened. It's been 10 minutes, so let's see how this soup curry is doing. If I'm not sure whether it's completely done or not, then I take out one of the potatoes and just cut it, and your knife should just cut through it with minimal resistance. Okay, well the skin is coming off a bit here, so I'm pretty sure that's done. Yeah, that's really nice and soft. Look at that. When you're sure that everything is cooked to your liking, then we're just going to do the final step of adding some soy sauce and the curry roux. So I'm just going to add about 1 tablespoon of soy sauce. And then to add the curry roux, it comes in these blocks, and I already used 2 the other day, so I'm just going to use 2 for this. You don't really need that much for a soup curry. If you add any more, then it will end up being thicker and it'll kind of turn into a curry rather than a soup curry. So now when we add in the curry roux, then we're just going to turn the heat off. And And we're going to do the same thing that we did with the miso, where we add it in a ladle and stir it around. This is because the curry roux also has a tendency to clump. If you don't mind, then you can just stick it in and just stir it around, or you can chop it up into really small pieces and then add it in, and it usually won't clump. But this is just the way that I tend to do it. So I'm going to pop that in there. So this is kind of the normal consistency for a Japanese curry rather than a soup curry. It's very thick and gloopy. At this point, if it's a bit thicker than you'd like, then you can just add a bit more boiling water. Now I'm just going to taste for seasoning. Okay, so for me that's perfect, so now all we've got to do is plate it up.
Between curry and soup curry, if I had to choose one to eat every day, then I would definitely choose soup curry. I just find that the flavors really come out, especially the spices. And if you've learned something today, then do just give me a like to let me know. And if you want to learn more recipes, then experiment with me every Sunday. But that's it for today, so I'll see you next week. Bye!